everybody, I'm Ken. Welcome back to another episode of The Lazy Gourmet. And today I'm really excited to be here with you because the recipe of the day and what I'm going to make is a traditional Greek New Year's cake. It is what is commonly known as a Vasilopita, and it is basically a cake with very simple ingredients, but yet oh so flavorful. I love this cake. In fact, I make this year round and have it as a coffee cake. It's very easy to make, only a few ingredients, and it's typically something that Greeks make and offer every New Year's. So for this, it's very simple. It is 300 grams of butter, salted. I always use salted, no matter what. 250 grams of icing sugar. 2 tablespoons, I know it sounds a lot, 2 tablespoons of grated nutmeg. 2 tablespoons of vanilla. 2 tablespoons of sugar. 250 grams of flour. A tablespoon of baking powder. The zest of 2 oranges and 4 eggs, and 1/3 cup milk. That's it. That is your total ingredients list. It's very simple to prepare, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. First things first, what we're going to do is use our mixer, and I'd be lost without my mixer. So for this, I've already softened my butter or have it at room temperature for a while, and nice and soft. That goes in just like that. And our icing sugar is next. What I would recommend is once you start this, do it at a very low speed, especially when you're dealing with icing sugar, because the last thing you want is to look like Casper. All right, our icing sugar is in. Let that mix up now. Actually bring it up one more notch to the second speed if you're using a KitchenAid, and let that go for about 5 minutes. Also, I would like to point out that at this point, preheat your oven to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius. And a key to this is have your rack that you're going to be baking this cake on somewhere around 3/4 of the way up. As the powdered sugar now has started to blend with the butter, kick it up a notch. Let it start working its magic, softening up the butter. If the butter really is at room temperature, what you're going to find is this will be quick and it'll make your cake that much lighter. So now that our butter has been whipping for a few minutes, the next step is to slowly start adding our next ingredient. A bit of advice, always lower your speed before you start adding more ingredients, only because you're going to be sorry in the end if stuff goes splattering all over the place. The next part of this is 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. There's 1. There's 2. Perfect. That goes in there. Our regular sugar goes in, just like that. Basically, 1 nutmeg will get grated into this. Very simply. I always prefer using the fresh nutmeg that I grate myself. I find the flavor a little more robust, but if you're using the pre-ground, that's totally fine too. Use this. Watch your fingers when you're grating this, because these graters tend to be really sharp. All right, so our nutmeg goes in. That's done. Move this out of the way. The next special ingredient to this is a spice, if you will. It's called mahlepi or machleb in English. And what this is a seasoning or a spice of a certain type of cherry tree pit. And what this does, it gives it a very unique kind of holiday earthy flavor, if you will. I use 7 grams of this stuff, which is a vital ingredient. What I would suggest is If you can't find this, use a little extra nutmeg, but if you go to any kind of specialty Middle Eastern or Greek specialty store, you will find this. It's not expensive, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass to find. But if you find it, it will be worth it, I promise you. So for this, I'm just gonna grab a scissors and slowly cut these out and start adding it into our mixture. Now at this point, we wanna add it, let's kick it up a notch in terms of the speed. This is one of these things where less is more. It doesn't take much for this stuff, but once it's in there, you will really appreciate it. The next thing to go in is 2 tablespoons of baking powder. Oh, see what I mean? I didn't turn it down, and all of a sudden now I got a little bit of cloud of baking powder. Next, our eggs. Again, I'm a two-handed kind of egg cracker. I don't crack eggs with one hand only because I don't trust myself in terms of getting egg shells in there, and next thing you know, you got a whole different seasoning to this. So, 1 egg. At this point, you want to stop the mixer, lift it out for a bit, and scrape the sides of your bowl. That goes back down again, lock that into place, and bring that up and get that going. Now we're gonna slow our mixer down again, and we're gonna add 1/3 cup milk. I use 2% milk. You can use 1%, but avoid the skim. Just doesn't quite come out the same way. So our milk is in, get that up and mixing again. Our batter is looking pretty good. Now, the next part of this is our orange zest, which actually gives it that holiday or that kind of festive flavor. So now that it comes time to zest, something easy for me is I just put my zester over a bowl and just start scraping just like that. Very easy. The zest is what's going to give you all the flavor and without the bitterness of the oranges. And that's what's key for this. All right, so there's our orange zest done, ready to go in. And just pour that in. Add that into our mixture. Perfect. Give that a go for a couple of minutes. Make sure it's all blended up nicely before we add in our final ingredient, which is the flour. Okay, so now that that's been going, everything's blended, everybody is happy in the pool. The final ingredient is our flour. Now, remember me for this. Turn this right down to as slow as you can get the mixer. If you put this in and the mixer's too high, it's gonna look like a cloud of smoke in your kitchen. So just slowly start mixing this in. Nothing to this. The dough will actually be kind of dry, which is totally fine. That's what you want actually. Once everything's mixed, then you can kind of kick it up a little bit. Now, while that kind of does its thing for a couple of minutes, the next part of this recipe is what we're gonna bake this in. I'm using a 9-inch springform pan. And the reason I'm doing this is very simply, once the inside gets lubed up with butter, once this cake is done, pop it out, release the sides, and it's ready to be presented. So I'm gonna take my pan and a little bit of butter and just run it all inside, everywhere, all the surfaces. So now our pan is all ready to go. It's buttered up. All right, so now at this point, we're ready to go. Our mixing is done. Get that out of the way, move that here. Take our scraper and slowly start moving our batter off our paddle and moving it down. You're going to notice here that the batter is actually kind of tight. It's not a loose or runny batter by any means. Take our bowl, and I'm going to just pour this mixture into our springform pan. And spread your batter evenly. The last part of this recipe or the how-to of this cake is pure tradition. This is a coin that's usually wrapped up in some kind of like aluminum foil, and this is the good luck charm for whoever gets it for the year. So in other words, I'm gonna just take this, drop this in, just like that, mix it in so nobody can see it, where it is, spin it around or whatever, you don't want to know where it is. Or at this point, as this cake bakes, when this finishes and you serve it, you're going to cut it into pie-shaped wedges. At this point, whoever gets the coin is promised good luck, health, fortune, love, whatever it is you're looking for, this coin will do it for you. So that's a little bit of a history or tradition lesson on this cake. Now that everything is done here, we're gonna pop it into our 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. Keep an eye on it depending on your oven until it becomes kind of a golden brown on top, and do the toothpick test to see for doneness. Okay, so now our cake has finished baking. It's actually had a chance to cool down now a little bit. So what I've done is I've actually made some cutouts of 2017 here that we're gonna put on this before we ice it. So I'll do that right now, and hopefully it turns out. So there's the 2, the 0. I'm not a baker, like I said, and I'm certainly no cake decorator. So I'm just gonna do my best, and I'll show you how it actually turns out. All right, so put that like the 1 there, and then lastly the 7, just like that. That's about as perfect as I can get it. The next step is I'm gonna take just a regular non-serrated knife and just cut around to separate this from the pan. This is one of the reasons why I like using springform pans. I'm going to take now my icing sugar, wish me luck, and just slowly start pouring that over. All right, perfect. So that part is done. The next part of this, just gonna loosen this up. Alrighty then, that's pretty good actually. Just gonna leave this here. So as you can see, let me move this out of the way here for you. The cake looks pretty decent all around. Now, the trick to this next part is raising the numbers so that it kind of looks like it's supposed to. So I just finished dolling up this cake. I have to admit, in all honesty, the 2017 didn't turn out that great, only because I had, I think, too much icing sugar. I got really excited and trigger happy with the icing sugar, but at least it looks pretty with the bow on top. So there you have my Vasilopita cake, which is basically an orange-based coffee cake that Greeks use to celebrate the New Year. So that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Ken, aka The Lazy Gourmet. Thumbs up if you like this, and I hope you do. Subscribe, and if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to leave me a message down below. And of course, as always, subscribe here, subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.